guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, make sure to subscribe for more content like this. And in this video, I'm going to be doing a part 2 to frequently asked questions about K-pop auditions. So I asked you guys on Telenom to ask any K-pop audition related questions, and you guys gave me a few, okay, maybe not a few, like a lot of questions. So I'll just be answering them here. I do have a part 1, so make sure you watch that before this, and let's go. What if the judges like your performance during the audition? What happens next? Then you probably get accepted into the next one. But just because they like your performance does not mean they're going to immediately accept you, right? There's so many other factors to consider, such as your nationality, your visuals, your personality, your image. What are some LGBT plus friendly companies? Honestly, there aren't really openly welcoming companies that accept LGBT, but I'm sure if you find like those companies that are more open to different nationalities, open to more different personality types, I would go for that. Kind of like P Nation, I would say, is only the one that I can really think of on top of my head. But you could do a lot of more research into that. Okay, the next one I actually already answered in my series, but does a judge in your audition prefer if you choose a Western artist song rather than a K-pop song? Yeah, I've answered that in my series. The next one is, what if we're chosen to be a trainee in a company and the company wouldn't give that much allowance? Are we allowed to take part-time jobs? Obviously, you can. Like, you can really do anything you want, but you won't realistically have time to. You're going to spend a ton of time going to school, practicing, doing your homework, whatever. You have to do real-life stuff too. So you probably won't have time to do a part-time job. But if you're, like, really desperate, then I guess you could, like, hide your job and do it. Like, who was it? Oh, EXID member, she did it because their group was just not getting that much popularity, which means no money, so she had to part-time job, but she hid it from her members, the staff, the company. Are we supposed to wear light makeup while auditioning? The idealistic thing is to not wear makeup, but if you like really need to, make it seem like you didn't wear makeup. So like a very basic, I don't know, lipstick that doesn't really pop out too much, like, so not bright red, you know. Maybe foundation if you really need it, but I don't recommend doing that. Do we have to smile all the time while auditioning, both online and open audition? Nope. If your song is more like scary, I don't know, girl crush vibe, you don't want to smile in that, right? So it's really whatever suits you. But when you're like talking to the judges, it would be just like talking to anyone. It would be better to smile than to be like, yes, I want to become an idol because I think I have the talent. Yes, I will be performing, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. Hope you enjoy. Like, you don't want to be like that, right? What is better when doing online audition, ponytail or no ponytail? Personally, I prefer dancing with the ponytail because it doesn't really get in your face as much. But if your choreo is more like moving your head and like head bangs, that sort of stuff, maybe you want to put it down. Whatever is more comfortable to you, whatever makes your performance shine better. Is it okay to have crooked teeth? Yes, it is, but they could ask you to do braces, things like that. Is it okay to cut my hair after my audition? Like, you do you, but when you're a trainee or an idol and you cut your hair without the company's permission, then you get into a whole heck of trouble. Should my skin be flawless before becoming a trainee, or will the company take care of me? I kind of answered this before, but like, no, it doesn't have to be flawless. You don't have to be flawless for anything when you're becoming a trainee. They'll take care of it for you. Do foreign idols really get paid less? Mainly asking for Big Hit and JYP. So if you're in a group, say there are 4, Korean members and then 1 non-Korean member. They all get paid equally. Say they all do the same group promotions. None of them leave the group. They're all there for the promotion. They do the same exact thing. Then they all get the same amount, percentage of whatever they earn. And then say one of the Korean members do modeling. She does modeling. So obviously she will get more money than the other members who don't do anything. Because this one member, she does modeling and being an idol, right? So she gets that much more money. Just because one of the members models doesn't mean they're all going to split that money. That money goes to her. But say this other member does acting, then the money's good. You get it, right? So yeah, it is fair. But it's not going to be the same for all of the members, because some members are just more popular. Maybe companies want to see her more, like businesses want to see her more for advertisements, things like that. I'm too scared about education. What if we trained, debuted, and disbanded at an early age and you're going back to your country? What should we do? Do we even get a decent amount of education? Yep, you go to school just like any other kid would, or I don't know, teenager would. And even though you're probably not going to have a lot of time to focus on your education, you still get education. And if that's really your worry right now, I probably would not audition. If you're like, oh man, I really want the best education there is, I'm really focusing on my studies, you shouldn't become an idol. That's not the right track you should go to. You mentioned not singing Korean in case you pronounce things wrong. If you have perfect pronunciation, could you still do a K-pop or a Korean song? Yes, you could, but the only reason why I don't push out popular K-pop songs is because it's overused and you might seem like a fangirl / fanboy. Estimated applicants for the audition. If you say the audition, I'm not sure what you mean. It depends on the company, but there are a whole heck of people, more than you think. Did this person really put in 4 questions saying the same thing? If you've been accepted to be a trainee, would they pay for your transportation? So from what I've heard, the bigger companies, they do, but then the smaller companies, they don't. You have to pay for it on your own. But they kind of give you that kind of allowance, I guess, just for food, snacks, transportation. How do I stand out in an online audition? I have the exact video for that. I wanted to ask to wear specs, but I look good both with and without specs. I really want to be a K-pop artist, so do I need to use lenses or will they accept me as it is? So if you're just auditioning, you don't need to have lenses on, contacts on. But if you are a trainee, then they could ask you to do like the eye surgery so you don't have to be blind anymore. Blind as in like can't see, and they could ask you to wear contacts, things like that, because when you're an idol you can't wear your glasses on stage. Is it possible to pass the audition if I'm not confident? Yes, it is possible, but it gives you less chances to pass. They do really look for confident people, but say you're like really gorgeous but you aren't confident, then they could still accept you because confidence can be like developed. Do companies actually watch every single video submitted to them, or do they just look at your picture first and then if they like it, like your look, then they'll watch the video? Really depends, but some judges might do that, while some judges might do the other thing. They can't possibly watch every single one of them. That's too much of an expectation for them to watch thousands and thousands of audition video in the span of like a month, right? There are so many people auditioning, and they could just look at your pictures, and if that's you're like the image that they're looking for, then go to your video. Depends. I'm not a judge, so I wouldn't really know. I have epilepsy and type 1 diabetes. I have it under control and have had it all my life. Will a company turn me down for my health issues, especially big ones? So like yes and no, because it depends on how severe it would be, right? Just saying that doesn't really give me enough context, but if you're like really like if your health issues are so bad that you can't really properly, I don't know, breathe after 3 minutes of performing, it's probably not a good idea to audition. But if it doesn't affect your performance in any way, then you're good. What happens after the eliminations? Whoever is eliminated, they go home. Whoever is not eliminated, they keep practicing. It's really simple as that. Please tell me one thing that I'm afraid. If I become a trainee and never debut, what will I do? My whole year will be wasted. Please tell me what I should do. A whole year? Are you kidding me? So you're expecting to trade for a year and then give up? To me, this person does not sound serious in what they want to do. If you are worried about sacrificing one single year for your passion, then you're probably not really passionate about it. And it's not just 1 year. They could even kick you out 10 years after being a trainee, 20 years after being a trainee, 30 years, you know? That's not up to you to decide, and that happens for every job that you have. You don't know what's going to happen. How can I possibly convince my parents if they don't support me for becoming a K-pop idol? In this video, I have 10 ways that you can convince your parents. Do companies like the big 3 look at your social status? Like if you come from a wealthy family before debuting you as an artist? LOL. Not really. They don't really care about that. You know, just because you're rich doesn't mean that you're going to be a benefit to the company, right? Not unless maybe your rich family donates to them. I don't know. But no, it doesn't really matter. But then I thought of another way this could be interpreted as. So So say you've bullied someone at your school or maybe even cyberbullied, then that is definitely going to turn the companies off. They aren't going to select you if you have these kind of bad pasts because people can find out anything these days, especially if it's online. They can definitely see if you were a previous cyberbully or if you had like previous scandals of, I don't know, underage drinking, smoking, things like that. This person is all caps. Hello, I wanted to ask if Indians can audition for K-pop. Is there any company who are taking Indian? And I'm dark skin tone, not too dark. M. Skin color of Hasa. And which company is best for Indians? We are here folding our dreams to the paper and throwing it in the dustbins. I really want an answer for this. I'm sorry. I can't recommend you a company when I've never seen yourself. And if you're like, oh, I think I'm just gonna give up my dream just because my skin isn't light enough, you're probably not serious about this. I have wavy slash curly hair. Do you think that's allowed? Or if ever I become an idol, do you think they'll have my hair straightened? It depends. If it's like controllable, they'll probably let it be. But it depends on the concept as well. If the concept is like very formal style, then they could ask you to straighten it or not ask you to do it. They could straighten your hair, you know, that's really up to them, the concept, things like that. Do you think we're allowed to ask for extra lessons like piano, ballet, kung fu as a trainee? No, this isn't a buffet where you get to choose what you do. It's you do whatever is given to you, and you probably won't have time for these extra stuff that you don't need in order to become a trainee or an idol. When you sign the contract as an official trainee, is there a time limit? For example, the contract is 2 years and after 2 years you have to renew it. Yep, there is a specific contract. Usually it's like 6 to 7 years, but depends on the company as well, depends on the contract. Are idols able to have side solo career like BTS has? They could, but that's not up to you. It's not like, oh, I kind of want to do a solo. It's not like you get to choose that. It's like the company's like, so we're going to give you this song for the solo, memorize this until tomorrow, we'll start recording. Like, it's something like that. You know, you don't get to choose it, but yes, you could. But some, companies don't like solo activities because it might not do well, probably won't. The group itself is probably more popular than one singular person. Idols recommend the company they're with to the others. Yeah, you could, but you probably don't get to call your friends or whatever. Idols order food from like DoorDash. I'm so sorry, but DoorDash, that's like an American thing. No, they can't, because usually stuff there is like fast food and trainees can't eat that. Also, your staff and managers keep track of what you eat as a trainee and as an idol. How do idols earn separate money aside from the music money they make from their music? Or do they just spend their money from their music? Not sure what you mean, but like, do you earn something else from other than like the albums that you produce? Yep, you could do advertising, you could do modeling for a magazine, things like that. You all get paid in. When I audition, would I talk about why I want to become an idol, or should I just get straight to the point and start singing? Straight to the point. They don't need to hear that. They could ask you in the second round, but not in the first round. I was wondering if you knew any available auditions going on right now. So on Patreon, I have this entire list. It's a document full of auditions that you want to do, auditions that you want to partake in right now, and they're all open. It's like a full-on list. There's like a lot of pages in it. How can we get to know if we're not selected? You don't get an email, then you're not selected. You should probably wait about 1 or 2 months for that. For the SNS, doesn't matter if the account is private or not. Doesn't really matter, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. But when you get accepted as a trainee, they will ask you to show your account because there might be some weird stuff going on in there. How do you feel about non-Asians auditioning? If they look Korean, fit the Korean beauty standards, and have talent, then I'm good with it. And actually like serious about becoming an idol. If you don't look Asian, can you still audition? Yes, you can, but it's going to be extremely difficult if you want to audition and you don't look Korean. Thoughts on the beauty standards? It is what it is. Like, I can't change the beauty standards, right? How to not sound airy when you're singing. I explained in my series a lot. Could a trans guy become a K-pop idol? You could, but I'm assuming that the big companies would probably not really prefer that. So I recommend going to smaller companies where it's more openly accepted. If we pass the first audition, can we withdraw from our second or third audition? Suppose our mind changed. Yep, you could. But, I mean, that would kind of be wasteful, right? For example, you signed a contract and went to Korea for training. You found it does not suit you and you want to return to your own country. Can you do it? When you've already signed a contract, you're in for that. Say the contract was 7 years, then you have to train for 7 years. If you leave in the middle of it, you pay them a whole bunch of money. Do K-pop idols really earn that much? What do they do after they retire, when they are considered old because they have dedicated their whole life to one thing and they're not able to study? If they were popular, then they would live off of what they already earned at a young age, or they would, still continue advertisements, and modeling, acting. They could do any of that stuff, maybe going on to a TV show. Do they really earn that much because they would be able to support their family after retiring? Say for example, if you're really popular, like maybe BTS is like obviously they have a lot of money, but if you're probably in the big three, you're set to go for that, but then you're not really popular, then you probably don't get that much money. It also depends on how many members there are, because you have to split the money. Maybe how much the company takes from you. The company also could be scammed. After years and years of being a K-pop group, you could find out that they never actually paid you anything. Why doesn't SM let their trainees go to survival shows? You see, any big three artist doesn't really do that except for JYP, but JYP knew that Somi would kind of win or be popular because she had talent, she had experience, she has visuals obviously and popularity, but usually they would make their own survival show like 16, Treasure, like those kind of groups or shows. But SM, it's kind of like big three is like, oh, I'm too cool, like I'm too good to go on that, because it's kind of hard when you're competing with a big three trainee as compared to like a small company trainee, right? Usually these survival shows are to gain more popularity from small artists, but big three, they already have that, so they don't really need it. What happens if the K-pop group is not successful? Then the company can keep going. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I'm assuming that you're saying like, will they be able to continue? Depends on them, depends on the company. Maybe they see more potential and they know they'll have a blow up one day. Something like that, but then they could also disband because they're just not gaining that enough money. Their budget is used up, things like that. Becoming a K-pop idol better than becoming an engineer. Like, are you really comparing a K-pop idol to engineers, doctors, lawyers? Really? There's no better one. Obviously, which one makes more money? Probably doctor, engineers, and lawyers. Which one is harder? Both. Both are hard. Which one is more stable? Doctors, engineers, lawyers. Which one's something that you like more? That's up to you. Like, I can't tell you what's better. That's just weird. How do you exactly get fired from a company? Like, what do you need to do in order to get fired from a company? I'm not sure why you're asking this. Like, you want to be fired. But, I mean, if you really want to be that fired, I would say kicked out. Fired is more like if you're a manager, maybe, or an employee there. Then you'd probably need to have like a big scandal, or maybe say you're a trainee, this isn't as harsh enough, but say you're a trainee and you just don't fit that group anymore, then they could kick you out. That's like all just up to them. What's the hardest part about auditioning? Probably passing. Is it true that K-pop companies don't really pick people who audition that are quite out there, as in they have 1K followers on Instagram or something like that? Yeah, they don't really like to have popular influencers as trainees because they have already like their base. Like companies like SM, they're looking for a blank canvas, not a perfectly drawn portrait, Like they're looking for potential, not talent, things like that. Also, when you're popular, you obviously have more hate and like scandals, and those scandals could later on impact the future career of that idol. What if you have a powerful voice while singing? What do the judges think? They like powerful voices over quiet and unhearable voices, obviously. Has anyone passed the online audition and become a trainee for real? Yep. A lot of artists to this day, they auditioned by online auditions. Obviously, it's not just online auditions, that's the starting point. Why do K-pop companies treat trainees and idols so bad? You're probably really biased towards the idols, and then biased against the companies, because I don't know why, but K-pop fans always think, oh my god, the companies are so bad. They're so treating the artist so bad. Oh my god, why does she only have this many lines? But no, they're trying their best to make that group popular. And if you're like standing that group, that probably means that the company did a really good job of promoting them. I mean, have you tried managing a group? No, the company can't always be so nice and so like lenient, you know? Otherwise, they're not going to get their job done. Say they're like, "Oh, it's okay, guys. You can be doing whatever you want. Don't stress yourself. Don't practice too hard, okay? You don't want to stress yourself too much." Then the trainees won't practice enough and they won't be talented enough. What I always like to say is that K-pop companies aren't a babysitting service. They're a business. So that was it for this video, guys. Hope you learned something, and please do subscribe if you're new here. Make sure to watch part 1, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!